everybody. Welcome back to the Nerdy Neighborhood and welcome back to your Friendly Neighborhood Comic Show. I'm your host, Lauren, your Friendly Neighborhood Bi, and obviously we are here today with another really awesome indie comic creator guest. We've got Mike Scrase. Did I say that right, the last name? Scrase or is it Scrasey?
No. My name is Mike Scrase, but I have heard Scarce, Grass, Scrazy. My favorite mispronunciation of my name ever was in a Kickstarter for a fellow comic creator, Kickstarter video, Race Friesen. He did a Kickstarter for a comic called Cats Committing Crimes, and he pronounced my name Mike Scrase, which I liked that. It had a little bit of pizzazz to it, but it's Scrase.
Scrase, okay. At least I got the R in there, because some people, that kind of is an anomaly that baffles me with names. I get mispronouncing a name because you don't have the right way to pronounce the letters, like I clearly just did. But when you just omit letters because you're like, they're not there, I don't understand. That blows my mind.
I can see how you could arrive at Scraps. But I've heard people say sconce, and the R is clearly before the A, so I don't know how they're getting there. But
yeah. Names are tough. Like even when we all think we have it right, it's always something we have to wing. But I'm just super excited to talk with you. Welcome to the show. Really great to always have a new neighbor in here, and I love the setup back there. Like I know earlier we were talking before we hit record, and you have a background in filmmaking, and I can tell because you were asking me, like, is this a good distance shot? Like, I need the right shot.
Yeah. Well, we're working here. I mean, comics are a visual medium, and this stream is a visual medium, so it needs a backdrop. And if you watch my Kickstarter video, you'll see that I put a lot of thought into the visuals of that as well. I had a pen. I was holding a pen and gesturing with it the entire time because I thought, I'm a writer, so I need a prop to represent that I'm a writer. And at the end of the video, you will see that something strange happens with my pen. I'm not going to say what it is because you have to watch the video.
Can't give it all away to us.
Yeah, nope. You have to see this Kickstarter. But yeah, something odd happens with my pen right at the end of the video. And if you want to find out what that is, you'll have to come and watch and decide whether you want to pledge or not.
I love it.
You will.
I love it.
Yeah.
Love it. Everybody already needs to run to it. So I'm going to show on the screen here for those of you watch this at home. This is the pre-launch page for Zip number 1, which obviously Mike has written. It's going to be really great. And obviously, if you hit that pre-launch follow, it gets it shared around social media more, gets more attention on Kickstarter so that they can get off to a really great start when they launch. And there'll be a kick-ass video for you to see. And obviously, you can tell how passionate Mike is about videos. So it's not going to be half-assed. It's going to really get you into the world and the comic. And what I really love about Zip is that, it talks about it's a grungy superhero human comic, but the synopsis you wrote for it, the really short one is, it's a black and white British comic about imperfect humans, secretly about disability. So I've been seeing more and more books, comics coming out lately, talking about disability, things like that. So, what interested you? And hey, let me take superheroes and put my own spin on, superheroes with, kind of almost an analogy for disability.
Well, I was born visually impaired with a rare condition called aniridia, which can be caused by environmental causes, mine genetic. So technically, it is caused by a genetic mutation. So whenever I would see something in a comic book about a mutant or something where they get powers, I always did think, well, it's not as simple as all that. You've changed one thing in a human body and things get complicated. Then I read an article by Cracked.com, which you may be familiar with, but I'm sure if you're not, many of your listeners are, or many of your viewers are familiar with. And the article was titled 7 Awesome Superpowers Ruined by Science.
Yep.
And so I read this article, and it was sort of like, a tongue-in-cheek kind of nitpicking comic books type of thing, where they were saying, if you really went fast, you burst into flames from going from, or Superman would, puncture a hole in the bottom of a train if he tried to pick it up because of like pressure and surface area and things like that. And it isn't necessarily an article, but meant to sort of like, go, oh, aren't they silly? Got these comics. And I read it and I thought, okay, that's true, but there is actually a story in this. And I thought about disability, and it made me think, well, perhaps if a superpower were to give someone, crazy abilities that the average person didn't have, but it also meant that their body functioned very differently to the average person, then they face challenges because the world is only designed to accommodate a certain type of body in many ways. And so when you deviate from that, even if you are ostensibly superior, the mere fact that you are different makes living in life within the society that we have a real challenge.
Yeah.
And so that's, I try to make it a fun, escapist, action-packed type of thing, but there's also a deeper message in there that examines disability and really, common ideas that disabled people are either, where you're either faking it or you're completely hopeless and there's no in between. And this is really a look at, like, well, how might a disabled person be quite capable but still face a lot of challenges because of the way that they're different, because of the way that society doesn't accommodate it, not necessarily consciously, but through ignorance and apathy, and it takes a view of discrimination through the lens of really people not knowing or not caring, as opposed to actively going out of their way to make things difficult for disabled people.
Yeah.
I do like to think that you can apply it to any marginalized group, but I wrote it based on my experiences with disability personally.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. And that's one thing I really like about this book is that, and again, back in the 60s with the X-Men, as you mentioned, with the mutants and things like that, it's like people hate us, but we have to try to be better, Xavier's approach and all these other mutants approach. And what I really like about your approach, as you said, is that this shows that, hey, so much of what happens, yes, there's hate, like just outright cruelty, which is horrific, but a much larger, in my opinion at least as well, audience that's part of the problem unintentionally on their end is the people that are ignorant, the people that just don't know any better, the people that don't go out of their way when they can to do the better and to learn and understand these things and accommodate, like you said. And one thing I love about the main character, her superhero identity is Zip, and but her real name's Allison. And one thing I love that you did so well with her in this book is her inner narration. I can tell reading that somebody who has lived this, a life of having a disability and having to figure out how to work through life with it and getting frustrated with how other people don't get it, but still doing your best. Like, I can tell, you have lived this yourself. And it's so cool to read that because I think you do such a great job balancing out how tough it is and the kind of, as Allison points out herself, melodramatic inner dialogue that can happen with, hey, like, I have this really cool thing and I want to be able to use it, but like, what the heck do I do? So I just want to commend you for how well you write the inner narration, because that is the thing that made me hooked from the second I opened this book, was that inner narration. And often it's hard for me. Yeah.
Well, thank you for saying so. And I really appreciate my artist's black and white style. Sam Espina gave us a really introspective look to the book, which I really felt complemented what I was trying to go for with the narration. And, it has been compared to X-Men before. I'd say the way that it differs is, one, that it focuses more on that apathy and ignorance side of prejudice as opposed to, but also it's less about an entire group of people and more about the experiences of an individual. And that's not to say that you won't see other superpowered individuals in the book at some point. The focus is on Zip and her her ancient ancestor, Eternity, who gained immortal life. But the trouble is that the human mind was not built to cope with living forever. So as time has gone on, his brain has slowed down as it's had more and more memories pumped into it just through living. And now, you know, when you're a kid, a day felt like it lasted forever, and now you're older. It just goes by, a week goes by in a flash. Well, imagine if you lived 100 years or 400 years or, 1,000 years. That would be magnified by so many times that he is essentially unable to actually get out and live his life because it's just everything is flashing by so fast, he can't take it all in. So all he can do is lie around in a controlled environment and basically just has to feed him soup every now and then, and the only way you can communicate with him is to pass him notes, and you'll eventually get a response weeks down the line. But sort of that one was sort of an analogy for your kind of dementias, your Alzheimer's, that kind of thing. I try not to stray too far from my own experiences without someone to give me some guidance. So in future comics, we might be looking at characters who have real life disabilities, and I will try to source co-writers or sensitivity readers who can take a look at it and make sure it's authentic. I'll be writing those characters and using my own experiences of disability to try and imagine what it would be like, but the more real it gets in terms of like the disabilities that I represent, I think the more I have to try and make sure that I source help from people who understand those specific disabilities. Because I do have a disability myself, I'm visually impaired, but just because I'm visually impaired doesn't necessarily mean to say I understand someone who has like, what's that, fibrosia? How do you pronounce it? It's that sort of motor, well, any really, like a wheelchair user. I wouldn't understand the experience of a wheelchair user, for example.
That makes a ton of sense. And what's interesting too is that so you're visually impaired yourself and all that, and Allison in the book, so her superpower is that she has super speed. She's super duper fast, obviously, but that also causes problems we see in there, like she has trouble building relationships with other people and things like that because everybody talks too slow, and to someone else that may sound very monotonous and just not, or monotonous is the wrong word, but it sounds just like, well, why is that such a problem?
Well, I mean, if she didn't slow herself down, she'd just sound like she's like a little chipmunk. So she has to slow herself down. So anytime from her perspective, talks to somebody, it sounds like, "Hello, how are you doing?" And that's her entire reaction, interaction with others is having to slow herself down for their benefit, so that she can be understood by them.
Yeah, and what's so interesting to me personally with that is that, so even though I don't think it's considered a disability, but so I have anxiety and I talk very fast naturally. And so often, especially when I'm anxious, everything sounds super slow to me and I could be talking 2,000 miles an hour. And so it was really cool to see like an actual superhero, going through something that, other people are like, well, then just talk slower. What's the problem? And it's like, you don't understand like how hard that can be depending on whether you have super speed, anxiety, a disability. Like that is life, boggling to try to do something like that day to day. And you do such a great job capturing just those day to day emotions, feelings, and experiences while creating this big superhero story with, like you said, a guy who's immortal. But being immortal can't save your brain. It's not going to make your brain immortal.
The thing is, and you may think that, and I want to get back to that anxiety thing, but to say, Eternity may be immortal, but that doesn't mean he can't be harmed. He can still feel pain, and he can still be trapped in some, hole somewhere where he could never be recovered. So, despite him being immortal, Zip is very protective of him because she knows that he can't necessarily defend himself, being, indisposed as he is. And on the anxiety thing, I mean, it's very difficult to comment on. I mean, I'm not in a qualified position to really say if anxiety counts as disability or not. My understanding is that, there are certain mental health issues where it's tricky to say if it's a disability or not. But I did write the comment. I based it on my experiences as a disabled person, but I didn't want to alienate non-disabled people, and so I did try to write in such a way where everyone could potentially relate to it and find something in there that they may resonate with. So I'm glad to hear that it has resonated. I've heard people with autism tell me that some of the dialogue that resonates with them. And now I don't have autism as far as I'm aware of, but I think that it basically, some of the emotions in there are, human emotions. I've always said that when you're writing any fantastical story, you can pretty much get away with anything as long as your human characters react to the fantastical stuff in a real way that a human being actually would. You can put dragons in your story, you can put wizards, and you can put spaceships, aliens, everything, but as long as your human characters are reacting to that stuff in a way where your audience will look at it and go, yeah, I'd react that way if I saw that, then, or at least in the context of the, for example, if the human beings, they know that aliens exist, well, then you give them a reaction that it befits them knowing that aliens already exist. So, but as long as the audience can look at the characters and say, yeah, that makes sense, that reaction makes sense, you can pretty much get anyone to buy anything, in my opinion.
No, that does make a lot of sense, and you did such a great job with that balance. I wanted to show the pictures you sent me here just for our viewers to see. So this is a picture of Allison running really freaking fast. I really love the design you gave her, and kind of like you mentioned with your artist earlier.
Yeah, that was Sam. So I had some input on the design, but it really is mainly Sam who came up with that design, so I can't really take credit for that. We did have a chat about certain aspects of the design. I did specify that Zip doesn't wear a mask, and the reason that she doesn't wear a mask is because her persona of Zip is actually, she feels the most comfortable in that persona. And also in that world, superheroes aren't really celebrities. In fact, it's sort of written as if people aren't aware that superhumans even exist. They're aware of them in fiction, but in the comic, the fictional superheroes were inspired by real superheroes, and they don't know that they are real, but they just think they're a fiction. So you can basically, in this world, you can get away with not wearing a mask because you're not a celebrity if you're a superhero. You're just somebody on the street. You wouldn't necessarily, if you saw somebody on the street, it doesn't matter if they were, you just see somebody doing something crazy on the street, you don't necessarily look at their face and go, yes, Bob Newman from, is that the name of Bob Joe Bloggs from down the street, that's him. Unless you know that person, you don't necessarily pin a name on a face immediately. So that's my defense of getting away with wearing glasses, although in that world superheroes are celebrities, so it doesn't really count.
Yeah.
But and the other thing I stipulated to Sam, we were talking about what Zip might wear in her day-to-day life. And I said, in Zip's day-to-day life, she wears baggy clothes. And if you asked her, she would say, I wear baggy clothes because it makes it easier for me to hide my costume underneath the clothes. It's true. But the real reason, if you really dig beneath her psyche, is that, again, she feels more comfortable in her Zip persona. So, as Zip, she wears, the typical form-fitting clothes that you see a superhero in. In her day-to-day life, she wears baggy clothes which hide her form, but she's not as comfortable in her own skin when she's Alice. And the thing that San added from this, if you look at the scenes where she is in her day-to-day clothes, you'll actually notice that her hair subtly looks messier as Alison than it does as Zip. as if she's less comfortable and less together when she's Allison. And I didn't tell Sam to do that at all, but it is there, and it looks really great because it's so odd. I mean, this is something that really good, great comic artists have been doing for decades, but Sam has carried on the tradition by somehow managing to make her look the same and yet completely different when she's out of costume and in costume. So I really love him for that. I don't remember because you were talking about design. I think that's how we got onto this subject in the first place. But I think I with a lot of information that you brought up. The design
No, not at all. I love it because I love when creators, whether you're the writer, the artist, the letterer, the inker, the colorist, whatever. I love when creators really go into all those details of the characters. Like, you've really thought of pretty much every level of Allison as a character, all the way down, like you said, to her psyche. So that makes a ton of sense, because that was my first thought when you said, oh yeah, the baggy clothes. I was like, because she's, she doesn't feel like herself there, so she wants to hide. But when she's zipped, she may not have as much of an issue with the four-frame clothes, because she's like, yeah, I'm here. What about it?
Well, yeah, in this world, the reason that superhumans wear costumes and have names and stuff isn't necessarily to hide their identity. It sort of works for that, but also is almost sort of like a coping mechanism and a way for them to feel connected to a community. Because when you look at a marginalized group, they will often develop certain tastes that kind of and then obviously not every marginalized group is a monolith, but you will have like, for example, there are certain things where like the LGBT community will have like drag shows or certain like pride and that kind of thing. And then like if you had like there was jazz music in the 30s for black people and things. And obviously not every marginalized group is going to be into that stuff. There are going to be people who it's just not their thing. And that is going to be true in the comic as well. You will see superhumans who are just like, no, I don't use my powers for good or evil. I'm a person and I just have superpowers and it's just, I live my life. And I can't be bothered with doing the cape thing. It's just too dangerous for me, or I just can't be bothered, or it just seems tacky. I've got my own reasons and my own person. But at large, the superhuman community does what they do, not just because, in fact, on average, they're not trying to avenge someone or right or wrong. They're literally just trying to find a place for themselves and give themselves a purpose in a society that they feel has no place for them.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that you show all those different dynamics we don't often see. And I wanted to put up here for y'all to see as well the full cover for Zip #1, and it's in color and everything. I mean, this is absolutely gorgeous. Who's the artist that did this cover? Because I believe it's different than your interiors.
Artist is Vanessa Cardinali. She's from Italy. Sam's from Argentina. Yeah. So we got to the end of the book, and I realized that we made a book with with a woman in the lead, and I said, maybe we need, because we were looking at who to get for the cover, because we've got that Sam's done a cover and Vanessa's done a cover, and we were looking at who to get for the alt cover, or the other cover, and I said, perhaps it's time we brought a woman in, because it is a woman at the front of the comic, and I sort of realized we got to this stage where actually it was all men who were working on the comic, so I said, no, we need a woman now. So Vanessa did the cover, and she's actually been really great, because every time I mention something on Instagram or something like that, where I post something she's done, she'll always share it. So she's been really great about helping me promote the comic too. And she's also, she gave us so much to choose from. She gave us, what was it? I think it was 4 different alternate covers to choose from. And then when she made that cover, she gave us a bunch of different color palettes for it as well. She gave us like 8, maybe even 9 different color palettes to choose from. And it was really, really difficult because they looked really good, all of them. And I was actually able to make an animated GIF of the different alternate colors, because I've been really getting into making animated GIFs. They can be quite a good way to make stuff online too.
Yeah. That's awesome. Well, with the Kickstarter coming up really, really soon, obviously, I'm sure you don't want to give all the goodies away, but what can we kind of expect to see once the Kickstarter launches in terms of like, the possible reward options? And I know the video you were talking about, you're super excited about everybody seeing.
Yeah. Well, I am going to try and keep it simple with rewards because it's my first Kickstarter. It's important to make sure that I can deliver on what I'm offering. But I mean, what I'm selling essentially is a comic. So as much as it would be great to offer merch, the comic is the most important thing. So what we're going to be doing is the main things that will be available for the Kickstarter will be a digital version of the comic and a physical version of the comic. And there will be a version with Espinas. Sorry, I sometimes say Espina, but it is Espina.
It's okay.
A cover for San Espina, which he's drawn. So that will be more in the style of the actual story images from the comic. And then the cover that you've just seen, Vanessa's cover. So those are the 2 main perks. We also have on the lower end, if you want to just get your name shouted out on social media, we're going to have something where you can we'll basically just say, thanks to these people for making this project come to life, and then you'll have, your name. I can't remember what the character limit is. We're going to have to limit characters in case people write an essay, but I'm sure you'll be able to get your name and a website in there. Obviously we'll have to do something to watch out for the trolls, because you know how they are. And they will ruin it for everyone unless I think about that. But that will be available, and then at the very high end, you will be able to get everything, which is the social media shout outs, the digital version, the physical version, and you will be able to get acknowledgement printed in the book.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And honestly, it's really refreshing to see campaigns every once in a while that are very simple, because I think it's very easy to kind of overdo it sometimes. Some campaigns, I think, overdo it on the rewards and gets a little too overwhelming for me as a backer, where I'm just like, this is like cool, but this is too much. I'm just going to step away. So I really like your keeping it simple, especially because it's your first one.
Well, yeah, when I have a few under my belt, I probably will add merch, but I will try to cater for people who don't necessarily want a lot of stuff. So we'll try and do it in a way where you can separate the merch from the main thing if you want. And then we'll do things where you can get it all in one. I should also mention as well, we're going to have an early bird discount tier for the digital and print. So if you get in there, within, I'm thinking about it being like the first 10 days, because those first 10 days tend to be quite crucial. So probably
that's a really good early bird.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's that's just the way it is, isn't it? With the Kickstarter, it tends to really ramp up at the beginning, then taper off in the middle, then ramp up at the end again. So I'm just basically going to follow that and just make an early bird discount for, I'd like to say prices, but I know that your audience is maybe American, and I'm thinking about it in Great British pounds. So actually, we had a mistake where my editor, I was talking to a freelancer, and we were talking about how much I was going to pay him, and I said, oh yeah, I'll pay you, and I think it was it was about 100 short of what their price was. They were like, wasn't our price this? And I was like, oh yeah, I've converted the price into Great British pounds. I've forgotten to convert it back to dollars. So that's where the confusion come in.
Yeah, that is really tough, especially. But the nice thing is, usually Kickstarter, like if I'm in America and something's in the British pounds, it'll convert it for me. And if not, then
It does
I can just
convert
Google it, so it's fine.
It does. The thing about that is I don't have Kickstarter in front of me right now, and I don't remember what the American price is. So-
That's okay. Well, that's why everybody can just click the link, because they can click like just a couple times. You know, I'll put the link below because I'm super lazy. I don't want to type things out either. And they can, follow the pre-launch page and then back it when it's out. So everything's there for you guys.
The early bird tier is going to be a prime example of why you're going to want to hit that pre-launch button, because when the campaign launches, you will be able to take advantage of that and get yourself. Well, I'll say it's going to be £5 off, but that's probably not going to make any. Look it up on Google. You can go on how much is a Great British Pound in dollars.
Yep,
it's probably like
$50
is what you're going to say, but don't quote me on that. It changes, and also I just can't remember. And believe me, the dollar versus pound, that's changing a lot right now.
Oh, yeah.
Everything is going up. I'm not going to talk about politics, but yeah.
Just too much. Yeah, no, I completely. No, and again, that's why we have automated systems nowadays that can do that stuff for us. There are other people that are in charge of that. You're not in charge of that. You get to write and promote the book and do some more of the more fun ends of it.
Yeah, I mean, I am in charge of the tax and the customs, unfortunately, but I'm in charge of.
Oh, that's never fun, but. Yeah, it was so good chatting with you, Mike. Super excited to have you on. So excited for your first Kickstarter. Is there anything else about Zip and the Kickstarter that you wanted to mention in case we forgot it?
Well, if we're running out of time, I'll just briefly talk about the video, because
Go for it.
Every source talks about how important a Kickstarter video is. They always say, 85% of projects who are successful have video. So I've got a background in filmmaking as well as comic making.
Nice.
So I put in a lot of thought into making this video, and a friend of mine has a photography studio. We did some, basically just put a little bit of know-how in there to make it soundproof, and we made basically the best video we could. Hopefully that's going to be apparent when you see it, because basically the premise is, when I come on the camera and talk about the project, you'll see that I've actually got a green screen behind me. We're going to put comic art in front of that. So, Kickstarter videos need to be quite short, but I figured out how to get as much as I can possibly get in there in a short space of time. And I'm also having a custom score composed for the video, because I really want to take you guys through the emotional journey of the synopsis of this comic. And I've really taken care to make sure all of the images we're going to be showing are going to be relevant to the synopsis that I'm providing. I've had some formal voice acting training, so I'm really going to be selling the emotions of the comic with my delivery of the lines. And, it's all going to be edited by me as well. Actually, the shoot's finished now, and it's just post-production to do. So that's one of the major things that I have left to do to get this campaign launched.
Yeah.
So,
awesome.
I'm hoping that that's going to go live early April. There's been setbacks, unfortunately, that were out of my control. But I'm starting to feel quite optimistic that early April is going to be launch time.
That's awesome. I'm super excited to see it, because I can tell just by how detailed you are talking about the video, just how passionate you are about it. It means so much to you. So I know it's going to be probably one of the best Kickstarter videos I've ever seen. I have no doubt about that at all.
Well, it's important not to lose sight of the big picture, but being detail-oriented is good as well. And if you can manage both at the same time, it's not easy, but it's a good goal to have.
Yeah.
I think it's sometimes you just have to know when to defer to people who have more expertise than yourself. A lot of writers want to control everything because it's their idea, but you have to understand that your artist is has their own field of expertise, and will maybe understand aspects of the comic better than you do, and that's true of the letterer as well. We haven't really talked about Theron in this all that much, but Theron Delago is the letterer, and he's done a great job. So it's just important to trust your team. And it's good to know just enough about what they do to be easy to work with as well. You can't take on everything yourself because you'll end up being a jack of all trades and a master of none. But it is good to have like a cursory knowledge of what everybody's doing, so that you make yourself easy to collaborate with.
Yeah, and comics are probably one of the most collaborative businesses out there. There's creators that make comics and they don't collaborate a lot, that are successful, but it's few and far between, and their level of, and everybody defines success differently, but their level of success is typically much different than, people that do very well collaborating and enjoy it. So I'm super excited for you all. I know this launch is going to go super well come April. Tell us where we can find you on social media and all that stuff.
Well, pretty much every social media, I've tried to make it all the same. So if you look up Zip Comic UK, I believe it's facebook.com/Zip Comic UK. It's also Instagram.com/Zip Comic UK. Same for Twitter. Twitter handle is Zip Comic UK. Just make sure you don't get, because there was an old comic in the 60s that was British comic, but they were more of an anthology comic. And then the website is zipcomic.co.uk.
Awesome. Perfect. I'll make sure all those links are in the description below for all you guys watch this later, so that you can click all those links, follow Mike, follow the comic, all this great stuff. Be sure again to click that pre-launch link below so that you get the first notification when it launches in April and get those early bird prices that obviously, unfortunately, some people miss out on, but you guys won't because you're neighbors in the neighborhood and you're ahead of the game. Anything else you want to add, Mike, before we get out of here today?
No, I don't think so. I have talked quite a lot, but hopefully that's good for this format.
Yeah, that's what the Nerdy Neighborhood is all about, being passionate about what you read, what you write, what you do. Like, that's what we want to hear here. All you nerdy neighbors at home, be sure to do all the things we just said earlier and like, share, and subscribe to the channel here and to this video. Super cheesy stuff, but it really helps us grow and grow the Nerdy Neighborhood as well. And otherwise, we'll see you guys next time in the Nerdy Neighborhood.